Smita ma'am, please start. We are live now.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. A very good morning to one and all. Welcoming is a part and parcel of any gathering that gives a proper way of beginning of an event. I, Miss Smita Vinit Bhoir, Assistant Professor of Department of Computer Engineering, Ramravadik Institute of Technology, affiliated to Dr. D.Y. Patil, deemed to be university, feel privileged to extend my warm welcome on behalf of our visionary Dr. D.Y. Patil sir and our managing trustee Mrs. Shivani Vijay D. Patil ma'am and our honorable principal sir Dr. Mukesh D. Patil sir. On the occasion of inaugural function of AICT sponsored 5 days faculty
आवाज ऊपर
development program on recent trends in IoT, I warmly welcome to Dr. Leena Raga ma'am, Head of Department of Computer Engineering, Dr. Mukesh D. Patil sir, Principal RAIT, Honorable Dr. Shirish Kulkarni sir, Vice Chancellor Sardar Patel University, Gujarat, Dr. Ajay Deshmukh sir, all the faculty members, colleagues, and my dear participants. To begin with any event, we start with Ganesh Vandana and our goddess Saraswati Pujan. So I will pray to start with the event. We'll start praying the god Ganesha and Saraswati.
वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce the coordinator of this program, Dr. Vaibhav Narwani sir. He is currently working as a professor in Department of Computer Engineering, Ramravadik Institute of Technology, and he is a member of Senate and Management Council, Mumbai University. Over to you, Vaibhav sir, to give the introduction of our faculty development project.
Namaskar, very good morning,
Good morning.
respected dignitaries in the streaming live, like Dr. Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Shirish Bhai Kulkarni, our Honorable Principal Dr. M.D. Patil Sir, Head of the Department Dr. Leena Raga Ma'am, our today's expert speaker Dr. Ajay Deshmukh Sir, all my organizing team members of the streaming room, all HODs, training and placement officers, Dr. Vidate Sir, and all dear participants. Very first,
Fantastic. Very
very
good.
first,
Chala
a
sir.
very happy Ganesh Utsav to all of you. May Lord Ganesha always keep blessing upon all of us. He may remove all our anxieties, difficulties, and black ends from our life. Coming to the FDP, AICT have put a total 5 different areas as the thirst areas, and Internet on Things is one of them. Honorable Vice Chancellor Sirs, I am happy to say that total 200 participants are there across from India. We have the participants from the Maharashtra, Gujarat, Punjab, Hyderabad. From all over India, we have the participants. So it seems that everyone is eager to take the knowledge of this upcoming IoT field. So maybe this field is in future come up with all opportunities in academy area and research area. And we have arranged the speakers from industry also, from academy also. So hope in the coming 5 days, you will get something new which is really helpful to in your particular domain, that may academic domain or research or any innovative things which is really helpful for our nations. So there is some 2-3 instructions are there. All the participants after the session, you have to fill the feedback cum attendance form. Overall feedback attendance is mandatory, and for certifications, it's required you have to attend the FDP 80% attendance and 60% marks in the examinations. So with this, I wish you all the best of luck for all the participants. Thank you very much, ma'am. Over to you, Smita ma'am.
Thank you, Vaibhav sir. To start with for giving brief introduction of our faculty development program. Now, I would request Dr. Leena Raga ma'am, Head of Department of Computer Engineering, Dean Academics RAIT, to give some valuable insights to all the audience. Over to you, Leena ma'am.
Thank you, Smita. Good morning. Today, I am extremely honored to welcome the distinguished dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Shirish Bhai Kulkarni sir, Vice Chancellor, Sardar Patel University, Gujarat, Dr. Ajay Deshmukh sir, and Dr. M.D. Patil sir, Principal RAIT, for this 5 days FDP. I heartily welcome all the faculty from across India to take part in this faculty development program. We, the computer engineers, look IoT in terms of application development and building supporting tools to realize the interconnection of the devices and to extract the smart decision-making power from them so that the purpose of the device is achieved. I, Dr. Leena Raga, Head of Computer Engineering Department, would like to introduce the department to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Kulkarni sir, and to the participants. Sir, department started in the year 1983, and since 35 years, we have grown up to one of the sought-after department across India. With the support of highly qualified and experienced faculty, we run postgraduate as well as PhD programs and are also NBA and NAC accredited. This year, we are becoming part of DY Patil deemed to be university and look forward to provide state-of-the-art education with specializations in data science and information security. We have IoT specialization, signal processing specialization, embedded and VLSI specializations too offered in other departments. With this, we aim to do interdisciplinary research work in IoT in the near future. IoT is a field that has already started showing its presence. It has a tremendous scope and never ending applications in its kitty. So, I welcome all the enthusiastic participants to this recent trends in IoT faculty development program supported by ATAL, AICTE Training and Learning Academy, whose support and with the team's efforts who have handpicked the experts from various industries and academia to ensure that you will be able to apply you will be able to learn the concepts of IoT, able to understand its intricacies, able to apply and create a new unique solution to a particular problem. I once again thank Kulkarni sir for gracing the occasion and all participants for their enthusiastic participation. Thank you. Over to Smita
Thank you,
madam.
Leena ma'am.
Hmm.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to introduce our honorable principal sir, Dr. to address the gathering. Over to you. Hello. Over to you, principal sir. Hello.
Yes, madam.
Ah,
Uh, Good morning to all the participants. We start the program with the blessing of Lord Ganesha. Uh, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir Dr. Shish Kulkarni, sir. Uh, Today's guest, Dr. Ajay Deshmukh, sir, Head of the Department, Organizing Team, and the coordinator of this event, Dr. Vaibhav Narwade, sir. On behalf of Ramraj Institute of Technology, I welcome you all to this inaugural function of 5 days online FDP on recent trends in IoT. So, as Dr. Leena ma'am has said that IoT is an emerging area, and it has been proved to be an interdisciplinary domain. Uh, I would like to congratulate Dr. Vaibhav Narwade sir for getting this approval for this FDP by AICT. And on this platform, I will also like to thank AICT for approving our FDP. I'm sure that all the participants will get benefited out of this 5 days FDP. The speakers are handpicked, and they were taken speakers from academia and industry. So it is a blend of academia and industry, which will be really helpful for the participants, those who wish to do research in this domain. Then for them it is a good platform. And as Dr. Vaibhav Narwade sir have told that we have participants across the country. So this is what is the motto of AICT, as they want to spread the knowledge in the emerging areas, and they have they are providing funding to organize these events across the country, so that the teachers and researchers will get trained. On this platform, I would like to appeal that if the participants are teacher, then one teacher must train at least 40 students, so that the knowledge will be disseminated to the community, and that is what is the motto of AICT. So as a teacher, everyone should contribute, and they should attend, even though Vaibhav Narwade sir have told that 80% attendance is mandatory, but I will say 100% attendance is mandatory. Then only it will be possible to gain the knowledge from the various speakers from this FDP. I'll just brief about the institute. The institute started in 1983. It is one of the private institutes started in state of Maharashtra, and the institute started with two branches: computer engineering and electronics engineering. Later, the branches like electronics, telecommunication, instrumentation, and IT were added. We offer UG, PG, and PhD programs at the institute. And from this academic year 2020-21, we are going to affiliate to DY Patil deemed to be university, which is established in 2004. So, being in deemed to be university, we'll have a lot of opportunities and lot of flexibility in the academics. We can float different courses, specializations, which will be at par with the industry requirements. And this is what is the aim we are starting with. And we have started courses with various specializations, like data science, cybersecurity, IoT, embedded system, VLSI, ICT, AI. Whatever the emerging areas are there, we are going to offer the courses in these emerging areas. So I wish you all the best to all the participants, and I'm sure that this FDP will be useful to you for your research. Those who are in academics, it will be useful to understand the emerging areas in IoT. And again, I will appeal to all the teachers that they should disseminate the knowledge to the community. That is what is the aim of any teacher. So again, I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir Shri Kulkarni Sir for sparing his time to grace this occasion. And I am sure that all the participants are eager to hear him. So I'll stop here, and I will hand over to Smita ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. Definitely, all the participants who are faculty as well as who wants to learn industry perspective and who are research scholars, they will take it positively what you said and will try to spread the knowledge to all the to the students. Uh, Today is a day when we can learn to look through the eyes of others to find out the experience, what the world is like for them. I am elated to take an opportunity to welcome our today's speaker, Professor Dr. Shirish Kulkarni sir. He is an inspiring personality who battled against all the odds and reached the pinnacle of his success. Reach high for the stars, line hidden in your soul. Dream deep, for every dream leads to the goal. Professor Dr. Shirish Kulkarni sir is a diligent professional and perfectionist, having experience of 35 years and more than 20 years of research experience. Presently, he is a Vice Chancellor, Sardar Patel University, Vallabh Vidyanagar, Gujarat. He has completed his B.Ed, B.Com from the MS University of Baroda, Vadodara. B.Com, he stood rank holder with the Merit Scholarship. The MS University of Baroda, followed by the MCom from the MS University of Baroda, Vadodara, LLB from the SP University, VV Nagar, MPhil from SP University, VV Nagar, and he also holds PhD from the SP University, VV Nagar. He has given immense contribution into the field of research. He has guided total students under his guidance. Total 8 students awarded with the PhD degree, and currently 4 students are pursuing PhD under his guidance. Approximately 80 conferences, seminars, and workshops are attended by Sir. He has published 8 books, and published articles and research papers into the national and international journals around 75. His comprehensive and extensive experience continues at UGC HRDC, University in Gujarat and out Gujarat, and Gujarat Energy Training Research Institute, training the employees of GUVNL Limited, GETCO Limited, GSEC Limited, MGVCL, DGVCL, PGVCL, and UGVCL for 8 years. At the training, National Academic Customs Exercise, Narcotics, NACIN for the employees of central government for the 4 years. He has commodious administrative experience as Vice Chancellor Sardar Patel University since 1st September 2016, Vice President Indian Accounting Association Gujarat branch, in charge director of Center for Lifelong Learning and Extension, the MS University of Baroda for 3 years, investment committee member, syndicate and Senate member, the MS University of Baroda, member of core academic committees for introducing CBCS, Government of Gujarat member, Faculty Board, Faculty of Commerce. He is also a member of Board of Studies, Department of Accounting and Financial Management, member convener Curriculum Development Committee for the under and postgraduate, convener of organizing various conferences, workshops, seminars of national and state level for the teachers of schools, colleges, and university. Along with his diligent efforts and dedication towards profession, he has membership of various professional bodies such as life member of Indian Accounting Association, life member of International Association of Academicians and Researchers, INAAR, and member advisory committee, Kalupur Commercial Bank, Vadodara branch from 2005. We are glad to have you, sir, with us. I welcome and invite Dr. Shirish Kulkarni, sir, to start with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, and good morning to all of you. Dignitaries in the FDP and the participants. It's an opportunity for me to address in Maharashtra, but I'm continuously reminded, no, I am in Gujarat, I am Gujarati, because several times it has been stated by addressing me as Shirish Bhai. Actually, in Maharashtra, if it is to be stated Shirish Bhau, in place of that, I am called as an Bhai. So I got that, yes, I am in Gujarati and I am Gujarati only. But yes, and this opportunity I am getting to address the participants of FDP in Maharashtra. And that's a proud for me. See, this is related to faculty development program. Sometimes it is refresher, sometimes it is orientation, and sometimes it is development. So, but in all these programs, a specified target is given, whether it is orientation or whether it is refresher or whether this is faculty development program. So, this development of a faculty is getting something new from the experts, new from the speakers, and whatever they are trying to deliver to the participants, that is a gain to the participants. And this gain will be helpful to the faculty members while they are addressing their students. And that's why this type of programs are always helpful to the teaching community as well as to the students community also. One more additional advantage I will tell you, and that will be surprising you, that sometimes when the speaker speaks and the listeners are teachers, they understand that what happens in listening to somebody. So the teacher realizes that when I am teaching to the student, what happens to the students, he will realize by this type of programs, and that becomes an advantageous, that what I speak should become interesting and they should listen it carefully. So this program helps to the teacher like this way also. But as it is on IoT, it is related to ICT related issues, but it is faculty development. The teacher is in the center. Let's say the new education policy 2020 also concentrates on the teacher. See, new education policy 2020 has come up after 34 years. Earlier also there was a education policy, but we are looking at the results of the education policy which is continued up till now. What are the results? The results are the elders one are always saying that what you are learning is really a knowledge you are getting, Are you becoming qualified? Do you get any ability so that you can get employment? So that doesn't happen. The postgraduate student, when enters into the employment market, sometimes we look at they are getting the jobs of a peon. Even I have seen those who have completed awarded PhD degree, they also go for such minor jobs. And then we feel, what is the education system? If this is the education system that brings the student to such illiterate qualification job, then why not 10th standard and 12th standard students should go out of the education system and find out such jobs. So there is a fault in education system. The parents are also look at the students, their kids, their children, that they should get the white collar job. So they don't want that the student should take the professional education of what their parents, forefathers were having. So that they do not want. A carpenter do not want that his kid should become the carpenter. The mason do not want that his kid should become the mason. And that is what is a whole trouble. And then this employment problem we are creating by ourselves. But this new education policy brings to the students from the 6th standard, that is related to a internship, hands-on, practical knowledge. That's what this new education policy intend to. From 6th standard, the practical education. So that will definitely develop a human being, his critical mind, creative mind, because it is a hands-on, it is a practical. And when the person is on job, something at that time, his critical mind, creative mind will be developed, and definitely he will go for his choice, that what he likes, that he will do. That Three Idiots movie, a photographer, his choice is photography, but his parents are sending him towards the engineering. So how can he develop himself in the engineering when his choice is a photography? That's why this new education policy intends on multidisciplinary. There could not be a watertight compartment that the moment the 10th standard is over, the board examination is over, the student has to choose whether arts, whether commerce, whether science, whether engineering, whether medical. That's all. After 10th standard, there is a watertight compartment that he cannot shift from one to another education system. So that's why the multidisciplinary approach is much more important, which is there in this new education policy. Alijan? See, new education policy wants that there will be multidisciplinary education research university also. They have bifurcated the teaching learning universities and the research universities. It doesn't mean that the research universities will not teach. It doesn't mean that teaching learning universities will not go for the research, but their focus will be that will on research or on teaching and learning. See, research university doesn't mean that they will not teach, because without teaching, without hands-on, the research is not possible. So research requires teaching, which is compulsory for every faculty. So faculty development is that when you are teaching, you have a practical knowledge of your subject. Then look at how enjoyment you will get in teaching when you have done your perform for that particular subject. You will be in a position to teach more better than what by reading the books, what we are teaching to the student, that is already available in a Google Baba. So everything is available on Google Baba. Then why the teacher should teach into the classroom? So that's not there. So practical experience, when you are explaining to the students, that will be grasped and perceived. So this 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is initially on local language or on the mother tongue. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel has stated clearly that when you are understanding the terminology of the subject, it is much more important of your mother tongue, because mother tongue you know better. So terminology of a language you are not to study. When the language terminology itself is to be studied, then when you will study the subject content. So subject content, if you want to learn, understand, you must know the first language. So your mother tongue language you have studied, that's why the local language or mother tongue is given an emphasis in particular this NEP 2020. And so many degree courses today we are watching. But the moment the first year he has completed, he will be out without gaining anything. But this new education policy is saying that the student who has completed his 1 year and now he do not want to continue, then he will get the certificate. The first year's certificate he will get. If he completes second year, he will get a diploma certificate. And if he completes the third year, then he will get the degree certificate. Mind it, at any time there can be entry or any time there can be exit from the education system, and there will be an academic bank credit. The moment you have completed 1 year, the credit will be deposited into that bank. And whenever you will continue once again after 2, 3, 4 years, that I would like to continue the second year, so that academic bank credit will be attached to the further studies. So like that, so many things are there. So faculty development program on particularly IoT, this new education system also we will have to understand because it is multidisciplinary. So the teacher should know the knowledge of other subjects also. You look at the Nobel Prize winners. It's not that their own subject only they are getting the Nobel Prize. They have gathered the knowledge of other subjects also. They are combining that other subjects, doing the research on that. Then only they are coming out with the Nobel Prize winners. So multidiscipline is much more important, and that's what the NEP is. So faculty will develop itself not only in IoT but other subjects also. That will be helpful, and while teaching to the students, your practical knowledge will definitely help you. You will become more expert on that. So many things can be stated on the NEP, but as the time limit is there, and I'm concluding with that, we should study the NEP, because in the coming years, now the ministry has changed. Now it is not HRD, it is now the education ministry. So similarly, the changes will take place. So be aware, be connected with the new education policy, and develop ourselves to adopt that education policy. And further, we will create the generation which will be developed for the national development. That's what I'm requesting. I'm very much thankful for this college that given me an opportunity to address you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable inputs and the new greatest evolution into the field of education. Definitely, as you have given the example of Three Idiots movie, as a into the field of engineering, being a teacher of technology, we are following, and definitely we will follow to give the maximum practical knowledge to our students with the help of such attending various training programs. Next, I would like to introduce the co-coordinator of this event, Dr. Dhananjay Dakhne sir, professor in Department of Computer Engineering, RAIT, to give vote of thanks for this event. Over to you, Dhananjay sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Dhananjay Dakhne, here to give the vote of thanks. It's my great pleasure to everybody that I'm giving here the vote of thanks from my organizing committee. I would like to thank Honorable Dr. D.Y. Patil sir for his constant supports and his visions for this particular university. I would like to thank Dr. Vijayji Patil sir and Shivani ma'am for his constant supports for giving all types of programs that we have. I like to special thanks to Dr. Shiriji Kulkarni sir, Vice Chancellor, Sardar Patel University, Gujarat. Sir, you are very rightly said the difference between the Google and the teachers. Of course, Googles can give the information, but teachers are always give the knowledge. So thank you very much, sir, for your support and your inspiration word towards this particular program. And you have spared a time for this program. Thank you very much, sir. I would also like to thanks to all the office bearers of the AICTs that we have granted our this particular FDP programs for our college. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Dr. M.D. Patil, sir, the principal of our college. His always constant supports and encouragements words given behind us to conduct all sort of programs and every activities in our college. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank Dr. Leena ma'am, head of the Computer Engineering Department and Dean Academics, for his always supports for every kinds of anything that we have. Thank you very much, ma'am. I would like to thank Dr. Ajay Deshmukh sir, the today's speakers. So thank you, sir, that you are here and start the sessions for the this particular FDP. Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank Dr. Amar Singh Vidate sir, Training and Placement Officer, for its all logistics supports. So thank you very much, everybody. I would like to thank all the participants who are joined and enjoying this FDP for this particular programs. So thank you very much and thank you. Over to Smita ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So, without waiting too much, I will over to Snehal ma'am to start with today's session. Over to you, Snehal ma'am.
Thank you, Smita ma'am. Happy morning. Nice to meet you, everyone. I, Snehal Mumbaikar, Assistant Professor, Amravadi Institute of Technology, on behalf of Department of Computer Engineering, RIT, DY Patil, deemed to be University. I welcome all participants to our Day 1 online AICT Atal FDP on recent trends in IoT. DY Patil University has been making groundbreaking changes in the arena of education, healthcare, and sports. The moral vision of the university has always been to provide quality education in all spheres of higher learning and healthcare services in India. Each year, the university evolves into a stronger source of inspiration for planning and conducting innovative activities. The small factory represents a leap forward from more traditional automation to fully connected and flexible system, one that can use a constant stream of data from connected operation and production system to learn and adapt to new demands. A true smart factory can integrate data from system-wide physical, operational, and human assets to drive manufacturing, maintenance, inventory tracking, digitization of operation through the digital twin, and other types of activities across the entire manufacturing network. I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to our speaker, Dr. Ajay V. Deshmukh sir, for today's morning session. He is an innovator and an all-rounder personality who is going to deliver a talk on Industry 4.0 transformation of existing plants into smart factories. It's my honor to introduce our speaker, Dr. Ajay V. Deshmukh, the principal of Fulton Education Society's College of Engineering, Fulton. Dr. Ajay V. Deshmukh did his PhD from IIT Bombay in 2006, did his ME and BE in Instrumentation Engineering from Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Institute of Engineering and Technology, Nanded in 1994 and 1989 respectively. He has 28 years of experience in academics as the professor of instrumentation and control in Cummins College of Engineering for Women, Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune, and as the principal of engineering colleges like Bajaj Institute of Technology, Wardha, Dr. Daulatrao Ahir COE Karad, SEC Someshwar Nagar, Sri Swami Atmananda Saraswati Institute of Technology, Surat. Over a period of more than 2 decades, Dr. Ajay V. Deshmukh has offered customized training courses to multinational industries and public sector units on diversified specialized topics. The industry verticals where these courses were offered are automotive, automation, chemicals, sugar, petroleum, petrochemical, power sector, process and manufacturing industry, and healthcare industry. Dr. Ajay Deshmukh sir has conducted several training courses for faculty and student development and organized national and international conferences, seminars, and presented keynote as an invited talk. There are many outreach programs and public lecture to his credit. As a part of her research, Dr. Ajay Deshmukh has contributed to magnetic resonance imaging, specifically signal and image processing in functional MRI and cardiac MRI, and made several collaborative efforts in this field. He is the author of 2 books as well as book chapters. Dr. Ajay Deshmukh was the secretary of the International Society of Automation ISA Pune section and the chair of a signal processing chapter IEEE Bombay section. Presently, he is the education chair of a ISA Pune section and a core committee member of ISA USA Automatic Control and Robotics Division. He is the member of societies like ISTE, INS, NMRS, ISA, TIMC, and many more. We are glad to have you with us, sir. I welcome and invite Dr. Ajay Deshmukh, sir, to start with the session. Over to you, sir.
Compliment with thanks to all the other members who were present for the inaugural function, specifically Dr. Patil sir, principal of RIIT College, and the organizers from RIIT for such a wonderful program. And also, I am really happy that Dr. Shirish Kulkarni sir from Gujarat, Sardar Patel University Vice Chancellor, he was there for inaugural, and I just want to say him thanks. And I had sweet memories of Sardar Patel University Vidya Vallabh Nagar. In fact, I stayed there in their guest house, and I know the campus. I could had morning walk in the university campus, and it's a really beautiful university. And I was also once upon a time Ajay Bhai of Surat and Gujarat, and now also people they recognize me as Ajay Bhai Deshmukh there. And incidentally, now I am again in Maharashtra, and anywhere whole we are interacting with nationwide programs. So it is like I'm reaching everywhere, and this is I think a very big occasion where we can talk to people all over India. So with this, I just share my slides and start with my session. And of course, I will limit my time as told by organizer Dr. Vaibhav sir. And also, even though it is slightly delayed, but I can finish it in time, considering the other commitments of the participants and organizers. Let me know whether my slides are seen. So this is a industry 4.0 kind of movement, and specifically I had initiated it from Mumbai again since 2017, and we traveled across the industries and we could find out several requirements of industry mainly, and then later on we have to fulfill those in academics also. So industry 4.0 has impact over industry as well as academics. Uh, I hope you are able to see my slides. Organizers,
Yes,
could you? Yeah,
yes, sir.
yes. So I will go through a few slides, but this is a subject of implementation, and really a very minimum discussion is required. But of course, when the project comes, it is a very big thing which we can do it together all over India. I would like to request people that we have to really change from whatever we do, whatever we were doing in industry 3.0, and time has come, and very less time is there to transform. So therefore, my topic of discussion is industry 4.0 transformation of existing plants into smart factories, because we want to really take into account the present situation, understand it very well, understand present business also, and then move to the new industry 4.0. Actually, the industry as well as academics both have to work together. As Vice Chancellor Sir, Dr. Kulkarni Sir mentioned that transdisciplinary subjects are required. Now here we really come across highly transdisciplinary subjects, and it is a multiple expert team who can work together from different places and collaborate. So collaboration is one essential thing which ensures that transdisciplinary subjects are understood when we come across the project, and that is the need of an hour. So smart factories, smart cities, I think we are listening. Even when I was there in Surat and the municipal corporation Surat, they announced several things about smart city. People are working on smart city. In Pune also, where I am coming from, Pune basically, and in Pune also smart city movement, several industries are there to participate in this. In our International Society of Automation, ISA, we had several deliberations on Industry 4.0, and even well in advance, we started in academics. So I just want to tell you that academics is the front wheel and industry is the rear wheel. Both are required to drive the bike. Otherwise, nothing moves. And business is different, in fact. Business has to be captured by industry jointly with academics. So there are so many things to get into industry from academics, and this is what I'm working on several things through IT Bombay and our Karimo group. And I just want to thank to all our people with acknowledgement, like control automation, instrumentation, measurement and optimization group, IT Bombay, then all multinational public sector units across the country, right from Bangalore or Coimbatore to Hazira and Ahmedabad, where I could visit and understand the real situation in industry. Of course, over a period of 20 years, we could understand several different issues with industry, even in industry 3.0 and now in industry 4.0. Then IEEE, Society for Industrial Applied Mathematics, Society for Cancer Research, International, our Indian Nuclear Society, MRS, all societies are told, but I'm just telling you that this is very important, because when we want to really work with industry, we must have a lot of collaborative partners, and these societies allow us to work in right direction. So it may not happen just in a classroom or in online classroom even, but we have to work with society. So our Instrument Society of India, or maybe the Mathematics Consortium, or Indian Academy of Industrial and Applicable Mathematics, or Biomedical Society, and several other societies, Chamber of Commerce, Pune, and even I had interaction with Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce, and we are in touch with all these people and industry. So when we visit industry, we definitely want to have some more things which can complement our basic knowledge, and then we enter into the applied domain. And when we talk about industry projects and transformation of industry from present to future smart industry, we need to really prepare. And already the time has gone, so it is on yesterday basis, but today also it is not so late. So I hope we understand the right thing, and we come in the right spirit, so that our efforts, earnest efforts, will be definitely useful for industry as well as business and for the growth of economy. So I will just keep the session outline, but it is around Industry 4.0, motivation, needs, and some of the applications of IOITs and how we gear up with all these things. The process industry, of course, manufacturing and chemical industry, pharmaceutical or power industry or oil and gas, and several industries are there. Every industry needs that there should be operability, safety, reliability, and a lot of innovative approaches we need to apply today for the transformation process. And there's a lot of data-driven methods, agile organization of the systems, and a lot of flexibility in terms of manufacturing, and timeliness. Of course, we will come across several other factors. It is NAMUR, the standardization of association for measurement and control, standardization association for measurement and control in chemical industries, as well as IEEE or VDE, Verbanti, Electrotechnic, Association of Electrical and Electronic Information Technologies in Europe. So at large, people were gearing up with Industry 4.0, and now we see that we have already entered in Industry 4.0. So people are talking about Python, data science, and several other applications. So we have to really find out what exactly is to be done. There's a lot of philosophy comes, and we cannot miss that, because anything that you want to implement, it's governed by some philosophy or some life cycles, for which really we have to understand. Then the technology, science, or other economics and business part can come. So a lot of motivation values are there. For example, automation is going to be the here to stay technology, and we need to really grow vertically in this direction. Plus, there are so many other information technologies and decision making to improve the industry business. This is the objective, and later on we come across a particular thing where we are now talking about a single chain or single window to suppliers, manufacturers, and customers. So a lot of collaborations we expect in this, and this is a different game as far as business is concerned. Just I will tell you that it is not the employment problem; it is the re-employment. So many lakhs of opportunities will be created, crores of opportunities will be created in industry 4.0 for people to work in factories, because today we are not finding those kind of engineers. Perhaps we have to train them. So the challenge in front of educational system is to train these people. For example, blockchain engineer or cyber security engineer or data science engineer or data engineer or data scientist. There are some of the issues or cloud computing, cloud management systems, and really installation and commissioning engineers are required for all such systems. So it is not that just we teach, but they must be able to implement those and demonstrate that this is what is working for the industry. Of course, this computer science or scientists or even engineers, they have to understand how the industry functions. So we need to really find out how distillation column works, or how some evaporator works, or how compressor works in petroleum and oil and gas industries, and how exactly it is done. Generator, turbine, steam engineering is really deployed in power stations and so many other applications in process industry. So unless we gear up with what is happening around, then nothing, no software engineer can really deliver something to this. Of course, they have to be specialized in maybe Python or data science, neural network, deep learning, machine learning. Now, these are basically tools. Where they should apply, the application domain is there in industry. So all the industry, you just take any industry, it has to come under industry 4.0, whether healthcare industry, power sector, or automotive industry, automation industry, or any process and manufacturing industry can come across these challenges. So the job of universities and educational system, or any colleges, in any science engineering colleges, or even economics and agriculture universities or health universities, they have to really collaborate and find out how we can form a good team of experts who can deliver right thing to the industry. Because today it is not the job of a single expert who can deliver to the industry. Earlier in the industry 3.0, there were consultants who were expert in some of those areas, and they could guide some maybe people who are really from the same domain almost, and it was not multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary work, but they used to hire contractors, but that was very limited as far as the areas of expertise is concerned. But today you find that we have to really cross so many barriers, compartments, and reach up to the experts, form collaborations. Even in multiple industries are required to collaborate together and enter into industry 4.0. And considering those kind of challenges, like the customers ask, what is deliverable? And can you give me quotation? I think this is not becoming possible to many people. Even the equipment like plant monitoring or predictive maintenance, or maybe energy and water conservation or solvent recovery, or how exactly the energy flow is there, how exactly we are going to minimize the inventories and supply chain management, as well as the market change and the business strategies. These things are to be now embedded into a software system. And this software, now it is not like ERP. ERP is, it was just done offline as far as the management of industries are concerned. But now we are talking about real-time ERPs, real-time standards like Six Sigma could be implemented in real time. And we talk about a very high-end or very high-level managerial concept of industry or factory in industry 4.0. Let me just give you a brief idea about industry 1.0. So that was which was driven by steam or water, and then it was before 1922 when Bohr's model was described, and then we started thinking about electrical engineering, and maybe soon we got electrical energy to drive machines and processes, and the factories were driven by electrical energy. Now, next, in maybe around 1950s or so, people were starting about electronics. They were thinking about electronics, and so the transistor was available. And in maybe 1959, when we talk about Kulitukki algorithm, fast algorithm for Fourier transform, that time the industry went into another era of industry. 3.0, industry 2.0 was electrical power applied to manufacturing processes or industry, and industry 3.0 means electronics, communication, information technology. So around 1975, when microprocessors came, for example, 8085 appeared in 1975 by Intel, and then so many other things, Zilog, Z80, and Motorola, and several other companies came forward, and we got into a lot of electronics. So microelectronics was developing, and those, in fact, those who used to teach microcontrollers and microelectronics were supposed to be very highly business relevant people. And later on, we enjoyed the IT market. Maybe we talk about 1999 Y2K problem, where software people found a lot of opportunities, and the business was much more in telecom industry also. And then later on, maybe the first decade of this century, we started talking about a lot of other manufacturing processes. Many advancements came in technology and industry process and manufacturing industries also. And academics was also driven in a different way. For example, somebody could be expert in one or two subjects, but now we need to really have T-like structure where I could be very strong. I means our own subject, and T means something which is coming as a collaborative mode. But we need to really understand those areas. Like if you are electronics engineer, we need to understand maybe software systems plus healthcare applications, or maybe power sector or automotive, and several other engineering disciplines, so that we are able to talk to people and collaborate people in a team. So this is the requirement. I'm spending slightly more time because the basic philosophy of entering into industry 4.0 for a nation like us, for industry and business and economy, is very much essential right now, because right now we are at the verge of developing or training our people. In fact, training people, training faculty is one thing, but training industry people or making industry people aware of what is industry 4.0, how they are going to transform their own existing plants into industry 4.0 smart factories, what kind of business opportunity will be created, what kind of job profiles will be there, what kind of reskilling, skilling, upskillings will be required, what kind of research and development is required, what kind of innovations, what kind of new products will be coming in picture. So everything is changing, and when multiple things are changing so fast, so challenges are to train people on those frontier areas and try to manufacture some of those things in order to capture. For example, electronics manufacturing is so much required, or some of the precision manufacturing in mechanical engineering, or some of those things like agile designs of some reactors in maybe chemical engineering and other sectors, maybe the industry 4.0 for nuclear sector, or industry 4.0 for thermal engineering sector, or in aerospace industry. So things are changing because the technology is available and a lot of computational power is also there. So we are going to take advantage of all these things. Sometimes we need to really use plug and play electronics, design software, and apply those things using clouds and gateways to industry. So this is a very simple task, but we need to train people to design data analytics softwares, because this is not a simple thing. We need to really understand maybe not only Python, machine learning, and deep learning, but we have to come across the real industry problems. Maybe, for example, electronics engineer dealing with a problem in agriculture sector, food processing, and the same engineer want to now design a software for other industry, healthcare industry. So there are so many challenges, and how to deal with, or how to be ready with so many other multidisciplinary applied domains is the interesting thing here. Of course, we are going to enjoy much more business in coming 2 to 3 decades, and show that maybe the economy is growing much more faster with Industry 4.0. Of course, COVID has really helped us in understanding work from home and how to digitize most of the thing, digitalization and digitization of most of those processes and those kind of tools and techniques which we deploy, and really can we run the factory from home? Can I run my boiler in industry from home? These are some of the challenges. So the ERP softwares, entrepreneurship resource management softwares or quality management systems, management information systems, then DCS SCADA-like systems where plant management is talk about, or some human resource management systems. All these things are going to be a part of this now in Industry 4.0, not individual, but a lot of collaborations will happen. So somebody who is expert in economics and somebody who is expert in process plant engineering, maybe a chemical or mechanical production engineer and a computer software engineer and the management, maybe, so they will be collaborating in right sense, and it has to be synchronized. It has to be synchronized with time as well as other deadlines, and maybe we can really produce smart products in the factory. So, but we have to prepare a lot now. Lot of learning has to take place. There is no time even to teach. So, learning has to take place very fast and create some of those engineers, not only from colleges, but people who are there in industry, who are working. They have to really upgrade those things, and we need to really approach those industries where such kind of requirements are there, and let us provide the knowledge resources. At least you can teach them what is Python or what is machine learning, what is data analytics, what is IoTs, how to prepare a quotation for IoT based systems, or how I can do energy conservation or water conservation, solvent recovery, or inventory system, how to improve the traceability of the whole manufacturing process. These are some of the issues. Now I will just tell you that this is the challenge to transform the present industry into future, and a lot of collaborations are required. So it is not that it will just free humans. Most of the things will be done automatically because you cannot do that. But for doing those things, you need a lot of talented people who can manage the whole show and design software systems and collaborate on different platforms. Some of the repetitive tasks are so faster that we cannot even think of manufacturing to this speed. But with Industry 4.0, robotics, vision-based systems, everything can happen. And then you'll find that the plant is running in a different way. The moment you get order, you can start manufacturing, and the inventory could be avoided, and the rejection ratio even could be avoided. You can reduce the downtimes, and instead of periodic maintenance, that could be predictive maintenance, and even other things, preventive maintenance could also be implemented in much better manner. But we need to really change. So what are the steps? What are the smaller steps which we should take so that we reach up to Industry 4.0, the final goals where we see that a factory is smart factory? There are industrial IoTs which are playing very important role. IoTs are not only for Internet of Things, but those are for Internet of People. You can see managing people is the most important task in industry. Training those people or recruiting new people, even it is a bigger challenge. But how do we find very suitable people for a definite task, and how do we perform well in industry? This is, I think, very important today. So we need more people. Can we train them? This is the challenge in front of our academics and even some of the industry trainers also. So there are so many programs coming, but I'm finding that most of the programs are generic in nature, like learning R programming or Python, or being ready with some of the IoT systems, or some people are manufacturing those. But when we want to really implement, in fact, I had to take some of the people to tell them that your boiler has really a monitoring system which is almost compliant with the Industry 4.0 grade system. So now this kind of awareness has to be created. Compliant in the sense, to a certain extent, it matches with Industry 4.0 requirement, but it is not exactly Industry 4.0. So we need to connect it to cloud and find out that sitting from home, the boiler operators, whether they can operate the boiler, whether they can clean the boiler tubes and all, whether they can think of managing the ash disposals or fuel management could be done. So the fuel manager can sit at home and can take a decision and how the boiler could be made uh, operational in right direction. So the boiler manufacturer may take over the operational issues of the boiler, maintenance issues of the boiler, and people did not exactly stand in near the boiler. So because it is very difficult to sustain with this. So far, people used to do that, but now those operators they need to be much more reskilled and upskilled and shifted to the control room or cabin, and then from there or from their mobile itself they can operate. There is no need to take readings going to the factory. So it is like you just understand everything from home or from the control room. So it is a digital approach which is working today. Mobile is much more powerful. Smart mobile phones, if you just connect to a smart factory, you get almost everything, and the whole thing could be managed through a software, a master software control system, which will make it the smart. But now, what is the gap here? Today, we want to design data analytics for example, our compressor or machines or motors or screw feeders or dampers or maybe chimney or furnace. These are some of the issues. So understanding furnace is a bigger challenge for a software engineer. Can we teach furnace to software engineer? But it has to be done because we need to deploy those things. Some of those problems which were not seen or those were not discussed at all are now open, and these challenges are to be undertaken by the practitioners or consultant or group of people who are specialized in their areas, plus they have multi-dimensional approach, multidisciplinary approach. So this kind of collaboration, forming the collaboration itself is the managerial task. I think we have to really have a very high level coordinating organization which can do this, and therefore in industry 4.0, one consultant cannot do this. We need to have several people, several expert people from different domain, different locations. Even a person who can draft a good document could be of very much use. So those may come from arts, some science or other fields, commerce even. So how do we link these things to science and technology and to the existing factory? These are some of the issues. Of course, today we see that we are talking about Google car or autonomous vehicles or maybe space vehicles and a lot of other kind of business. But even at ground level, maybe digital farming. In fact, in one of the sessions, we talk about digital farming. This is very important. So they got agriculture 4.0 also. Similarly, healthcare 4.0 and industry 4.0. These are some of the issues. So people have to now really become familiar with gadgets, not only mobiles and laptop, but there are so many other remote terminals and dashboards. So working from dashboard is a different philosophy. Presently, we know only maybe vehicle drivers, they see the front panel and that is a dashboard for them. But from home or on your mobile or on your laptop, there could be several such dashboards, and dashboard tells very specific thing about the operation of the plant, maybe very high degree of safety, security, as well as the information about production, raw material, inventory, supply chain, and some of the managerial decision. Not only plant managers, but the owners and the business decisions will be linked to the plants. And we are now talking about artificial intelligence. So deep learning and machine learning, perhaps people are talking about this. Now there are several variants of these programs. So deep learning, basically it uses multi-layer neural networks, and the job of deep learning is to extract the patterns as well as classify those and provide some maybe decisions. But very important aspect of AI, machine learning, and any regression analysis. As I'm just telling you something from statistics, and also those statistics people now, if they know this kind of Python programming and some of the applications here, the whole idea is to fit a dynamic input-output relationship, which can tell us much more about what is happening from the data. So those are data-driven method. Now those people who are from maybe signal processing or mathematics, they understand that maybe eigenvalue decomposition or even a KL transform like thing. It is a data-driven method. And when we want to design basis functions for any other transform, perhaps those things are to be tried and then find out how optimally we can obtain those basis functions. Of course, those technologies are going to be here, but today the time has come whenever it is a big data, we have to apply these technologies, and thanks to the computational speeds. So it is a different game. From the same kind of objectives, we are just moving towards smart products, and the business game is also different. It's a smart business game. So people will be getting much more information as compared to how you take decision today. So taking manual decision, this is a bigger problem which we are going to overcome now, and you can find out the best possible decision using AI uh, in much smaller time as compared to how we do it manually. So a lot of constant process optimization efforts are required so that the any plant manufacturing or even any system, or even there is a data analytics for educational institutes also. In fact, this was one of the programs which I had offered in Dehradun, and we also could write some of the software. Even you can find out how to take a decision on selecting a particular branch or particular subject area, or what kind of expertise somebody should obtain. Now, these are unanswered questions in many cases. It is not that somebody tells that this is good for you and you go for this, but a lot of data analytics is involved, a lot of history and the interest could be quantified, and you can really manage the talent in much better manner using those kind of systems. Of course, there are so many other things like how the project management could be done. There could be so many other things like Six Sigma or lean management, and then how do we apply data-driven methods to these kind of applications. So now Six Sigma, you don't need to train people because it is a big data, and how to apply Six Sigma to big data processes is you cannot observe it manually. You need to really have a real-time software which can run with the integrated business management system and plant management system, so that real time, every hour you can find out what is the problem and how do we overcome that. Even somebody can get some maybe alert warnings through those data analytics systems, so that you can recover, or you can provide necessary support systems automatically even, and diagnostics could be done automatically, and right messages could be passed on to the different teams on dashboard for collaborations. So the skills required are very different, and we have several challenges. So even though everybody want to become data science engineer, or everybody want to become any particular engineer with core branch, but with additional qualification or an additional expertise in data science, even mechanical, civil, chemical engineer, chemistry persons, or physics. I think a lot of physics is getting into the systems. So much more better understanding of physics and scientific areas, chemistry or nuclear science, or maybe medical sciences, biology. So we are going to explore all those things in a much better manner using data-driven methods and data science. So a lot of data analytics people we need to prepare. So this is another challenge. So this is how the collaborations are done normally. The people from different areas. Now here, this is collaboration shows that people are working from the same dashboard, but it is not the case. People could be at different locations. You have your mobile itself as the dashboard now. A lot of information technology and operational technologies could be combined, and people could collaborate across that, and then throughout the organization this collaboration can happen in a real-time mode. You need to just bother about the alert warnings, and give some directions to the systems in case you find some deviation, or you can understand what has to be changed, whether you need to buy the raw material from somebody else could be understood in hourly basis also, so that you take a better decision that this is not performing well. Now I have to buy something from different supplier, or it requires different kind of material characteristics, or the production rate or product could be qualified in case of some quality test using vision based systems. So many things, even warehouse management could be a very big thing for any organization. Now, there are so many directions for this. Of course, I have listed few, but not necessary to go through this. In fact, better visit industry and try to understand the problem. They will ask you several questions. If you are able to answer few, then perhaps we are able to understand the problem in much better way. So we need to bring the employees on dashboards and make it easier, so that you have a lot of optimization problems which you can tackle, and the interface among people, infrastructure, processes, and people management. So it is internet of people, internet of maybe services, or internet of data, internet of things. There are internet of everything that can happen, but it is not just a dream, it is the requirement. When we initially see that a new subject course is designed, we consider it to be a dream. But now this is the requirement. We want data scientists, blockchain, cyber security engineers for process and manufacturing industries on yesterday basis. Maybe 4 years back itself, we had this need, but nobody was talking about this thing, because a lot of understanding has to come up, a lot of awareness program, customer awareness. Today, many industries are even creating some of the coursewares for their customers, so that they understand what is to be purchased and what is to be deployed, how safe it is, what kind of changes it is going to create in the organization. Because organizational issues are also equally important, business issues are important, economy and technology, those issues are also equally important. But we have to really find out how this engineering, scientific people, or economic, and maybe even different industry people can collaborate. So some of the directions are to have good dashboards and ask people to be familiar with that, how to deal with this kind of collaborative work, and how to monitor and optimize the energy flows, cash flows, and material flows, and maybe other solvent recoveries. If it is a steam, then you really find out how the condenser is effective, or how the economizer could be used in much better manner, and what exactly we should do. So a lot of strategies are to be uh, formed, and this framework has to be done in collaboration. So knowledge is very important. Of course, we have to also deal with old people, experienced people, old in the sense experienced people, and collaborate with new people from computer science, or those who can handle smart mobiles, phones, or smart gadgets and dashboards, and find out that the overall team, because it is not that only computer science people or only software engineer or data scientists can work, because they will be just become expert in their areas. But when we want to deploy those in application domain in industry, they have to really find out what a particular industry needs. For example, forging industry has very different requirement as compared to additive manufacturing in maybe some of the areas, and maybe some of those issues, maybe nanotechnology or other MEMS and other things could also run parallelly. Electronics manufacturing can run parallelly. So there are challenges. Of course, automation is going to be here to stay technology, and there are so many operations which we do automatically, and a lot of planning could be done for ERP system. But now what I am going to claim is, this is the part of physical system. This was there in Industry 3.0, automation, DCS, SCADA, PLCs. We were studying we were using in industry for several years. But now, what is different now? We are adding cyber layer. So any automation system plus physical plants or manufacturing or automation or automotive system or power sector, anything, any plant plus automation system and any ERP system, now that becomes a part of your physical system. And the cyber layer, which has to be connected to this in order to make it a smart factory and then produce smart products. So this is the basic philosophy, and unless we gear up with properly the kind of maybe whether we kind of structure, or maybe waterfall model, or bottom to top, or hybrid, or maybe spiral model for the design and life cycles, we have to really understand. Radial model could also be there, because it provides you a lot of, or spherical model can allow you to have a better thinking process, so that you can expand the applications in right directions. A lot of flexibility comes in industry 4.0. So we need to have a lot of scope for expansion. So old world has to be connected to the new world, and for which we need to train our people. Of course, the present knowledge which they have is extremely important. It is not that it is just not applicable. Every knowledge from any science, technology, or even from languages, which is because language will also be connected in business domain. So business analytics can accommodate most of the thing. A purchase order in a particular language. So how to transform it if you want to just sell it in other country. So there are several such challenges, and marketing will be done in a different way. You don't need to visit somebody for marketing. Before you try to find out what is to be done, you will get ordered. So same thing can happen in any recruitment process. So if you get 30,000 applications over a period of 1 week or even a day, how you are going to select those. So before applying to any particular organization, you'll find that people will get call letters, and people, they need such people, such kind of experts from different fields. So whether it is arts, commerce, or maybe management side, or architecture, or pharmacy, or medical sciences, everything is required. And perhaps we need to visit, at least if you want to work for agriculture sector, visit maybe farm, find out what is the requirement and who are the people presently in agro-based industry and food processing industry, because this is very important now. So starting from the beginning and reaching to people who are more relevant and connecting those to the smart industry world and smart manufacturing processes. Now this becomes him. So visit is not a physical visit, but you can have online, or maybe it is not possible to visit all the industries. But if you want to deal with a particular sector or particular type of industry, you can definitely work it online. So there are huge number of. So if you today now the situation is that in some of my lectures, next day I got 3 orders for companies, and for one order there is no company presently ready with that. So how do we teach? How do we prepare industry even to supply those kind of things to process user industry? There are user industries as well as design, development, manufacturing industry. So there are so many challenges. When we visit the industry, they ask first question: what are the changes? Whether culture. So culture is very important. Now culture is going to change. A lot of collaborative efforts are there. Now here I am writing one particular thing, that earlier the information was not shared, so many constraints to share the information, but now you find that officially there could be some clearances given for promoting the business, and the organization or the experts or the people who work in organization decision makers, now they will be sharing the information. So this information will be shared officially, but now we need to really find out how to deal with such officially shared information, whether email is better, or WhatsApp, or people are now not aware of these things, so people they share on WhatsApp also. But not necessary that everything should be shared. You can have your own proprietary information, but the business will definitely force you to share a lot of information officially to outside world. If somebody is not aware of the thing which you produce, then you don't find customers. In fact, 90% efforts are required today to make the customer aware of what are the smart products, how to deal with those things, and how to train their own people to work in that environment. So when so many opportunities are there, and COVID has given a lot of opportunities again, that digitally can I work from home and run the factory, either a petroleum plant or any other automotive plant or manufacturing plant. These are some of the challenges. Otherwise, even the business has stuck up somewhere. So, but people will not stop. If somebody said that industry will find out its own way, now we have to also find out in academics that we must find out our own ways, whether it is modern national education policy, or earlier also, of course, the new education policy supports for such kind of collaborative work. So definitely we will be benefiting out of this policy as well as Industry 4.0, and the challenges and opportunities in COVID situation, I think we need to overcome in a right spirit. What is important is the basic philosophy and the thought process will give you right spirit, and then accordingly the economic challenges or techno-economic challenges could be overcome. So a lot of quality issues will come in case of export of products. People need to work on standards. So presently we don't have standards in many areas. So this is one gray area. I do not know how it is still a gray area, because most of these standards are designed by maybe other design abroad, and by some associations like ISA, IEEE, which form in the US and other countries, and perhaps this is one area where people like us, like people in our country, should definitely work out those standards and find out. Once you set the standard, it is a sellable thing. It ensures that the customer is accepting that. So whether to accept a particular thing manufactured here or outside, that trade-off comes from the standards. And anything, what is standard is you ensure that these are the functionalities, this is the safety and security, and then people are very happy and they are sure that this is not going to be harmful, and we are safe, and it is not creating any other difficulty. It provides maybe a high level of lifestyle or comfort zones, or it can overcome some society problems. So a lot of technology management has to be done, and the standards are to be produced. So I will come back to maybe the last slides, but we must understand the user experience. So there are some computer science courses like computer science with UI and UX. This is very important. It is not so easy to understand and quantify the experience of people, because this is coming from either customers or the users, and how users they quantify and write the experience and give feedback is very important. For example, traceability is attached to this kind of thing. So a particular cable coming from vehicle manufacturing company could be traced out, and you can find out from which batch it is coming, on which date it is manufactured, what are the problems in manufacturing, and you can sort it out. So the better graphic user interface, in the sense that you have maybe dashboards and other supporting systems for better user management. So this is really a different kind of thought process which is coming here. I'm going to tell you that control automation, measurement, and instrumentation. In fact, instrumentation is going to find much better times now in business, because the sensors which were earlier connected to DCS, SCADA, PLC, now the sensor, whether it is generating 4 to 20 or HART protocol compatible system, or any Profibus or any kind of compatible Modbus or CAN bus, those could be now connected to the cloud. And this is a jump from very normal business to maybe 100 times or lakh times more than what we had. So sensor development is one challenge, but you connect it to the cloud and explore the benefits of cloud computing and other data sciences. Once it comes on cloud, then the computer science people are happy, and they can design any kind of data analytics systems and get better decisions. So there are so many plant-wide controls which are required. For example, entire plant. I just skipped this slide, but I want to show you that instead of seeing everything inside, you consider this as a black box. There are lakhs of inputs and lakhs of outputs, and with your machine learning and big data processing strategies, you find that you can handle the whole plant as a single black box. In a single shot, you can take a decision about whole plant. And there are several self-optimizing loops. So what can get into this system is the mathematics and statistics. So core business comes from mathematics, and today it is very much visible through softwares. Earlier it was not seen. For example, the suspension system of automotive, what kind of mathematics, a second order differential equation goes into this system, but the performance was not monitored in the way in which today we can monitor, or the tire pressures as well as tire speed, everything could be informed to the driver in order to avoid any accidents using anti-skid braking systems. So there are challenges. Already these systems are deployed, but now with industry 4.0, you find that better monitoring of the vehicle is possible. Now these are some of the examples where a chemical plant requires a lot of complex processing, and a lot of decisions are taken. So many control systems are there, but with this kind of data science approach, you find that all the data is connected in such a way that you can have self-optimization of the loops. And there are so many other challenges which could be overcome here in process. For example, safety, or maybe a lot of other energy saving or product quality. So many things are specifically in pharmaceutical industry, or can say in petroleum industry. You can save cost as well as it could be very much safe as far as the whole operation is concerned. And you can see there could be centralized optimizer, which can maybe they need to have either supercomputer also, or could be done with even normal processors today have a lot of power. So we can have self-optimizing loops, very complex decisions you can have. I'm not going to cover those kind of things, but you can see the optimization problem could be run in real-time mode. In fact, this is the dream of those people who design maybe optimization algorithm, but today it is coming true, and in industry 4.0 this will run in a real-time mode. And the keywords are control automation, measurement, instrumentation, process industry, chemical industries, pharmaceutical industries, and any user industry as such, automotive or manufacturing industries. And I think this is what I want to convey today through this opening lecture of this TAL faculty development program. And it is useful to industry also, of course. So if there are any questions, I'll be really happy to answer one or two questions, because organizers told me to complete it in time, and there are so many things to learn, but it will have maybe specific queries could be forwarded, and maybe our group or I can answer those queries. But one or two questions, if Professor Vaibhav Naroli sir permits, and I would like to answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your eye-opening session on Industry 4.0. I am Balwant Gorad, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Engineering, RIT. It will help us definitely in our expertise areas. So this is the time for question answering session. We have a couple of questions from participants. The first question is, which industry branches are suitable for Industry 4.0?
Could you repeat
I'll repeat the question. Yeah.
Could you
Which
yeah, could you repeat?
Which industry branches are suitable for Industry 4.0 development?
Yes, definitely it is suitable. We need to bring out a lot of relevance actually. Maybe the answer is like we need to really bridge the gaps, which are, I have presented few things, but there are so many things which are to be overcome, and then we can make it applicable.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have second question from participant is,
Yeah.
what are major challenges are faced by industries in moving towards 4.0 development?
Industries are not aware of what is to be purchased so as to enter into industry 4.0 like a smart factory. So presently they are trying to find out who are the local manufacturers or service providers for installing maybe gateways and IoTs, and who can design data analytics systems for their own plants. For example, boiler or a distillation column or a manufacturing assembly line. And the challenge for assembly line is that whole plant has to be converted or transformed in a single shot. But in a process industry, maybe few units you can transform, and they are worried about what kind of culture it will be, how they should collaborate, how they should train their own people, whether they should recruit new people, and if they are recruiting, they don't get this kind of people. For example, blockchain or those kind of people are not available. Data scientists, big data engineer is not available. So these are the challenges for industries, and there are opportunities. Of course, we have to collaborate and try to put some right efforts in this.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question from participant is it really affordable to implement industrial IoT system in any business?
Yes. Today, you got like DCS systems, SCADA, PLC based systems are there. Most of the data which is there in PLC SCADA, it can also it has big data also. For example, history modules are there in distributed control systems. So you got big data already recorded, and in real time mode now you need to process. So as the data comes, you get it on another server and connect it to the cloud or wherever you want to process it. Either there could be edge analytics or there could be cloud-based systems, and you can take a real-time decision also. So people are talking about this kind of applications, and maybe predictive maintenance or some monitoring of compressors or some similar equipment, rotating machines, or maybe vibration monitoring. This could be done in real-time mode using some of those IoTs. So IoTs are getting deployed, but not in a right sense, because data analytics is not designed for those specific equipment. So a lot of specificity has to come. So learning Python, machine learning, deep learning, that is good. Data scientists are getting ready, but now they have to also understand rotating machines or windmill like thing, or maybe process plants and manufacturing operations.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a last question. What is the
Yeah.
difference between IT, that is information technology, and operational technology, OT?
Yeah, operational technology is present. For example, boiler operators are there, and how the boiler is operated. So some of the control systems for boiler, maybe boiler level or temperature of steam and steam flow and those kind of things are monitored, and accordingly some decisions are taken by the control system. So these are the operational technologies which will allow the operability or functioning or operation of the equipment. So these are operational technologies. It could be a single loop controller or multi-loop controllers or in a PLC based systems or some interface that can actuate the process and manipulate the process in such a way that it is safe, reliable operation with desired products and desired requirements. So this becomes operational technology. So a controller, PLC based system, these are operational technologies also, along with control valves or loops. So any control loop when we provide, it becomes operational technology. Or some of the operations like feeding operations. So there could be screw feeders or there could be dampers. So these are also operational equipments, and operational technology allows faithful operation of these operational units, machines and processes.
Thank
And
you very much,
information
sir.
technology, of course, information technology, people they know. So IT and OT gets combined today. And information theory has to go into information technology. I think information theory is equally important. What we study in information theory has not gone enough into IT, and industry 4.0 data analytics software definitely requires this kind of collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Almost all questions are answered very nicely by sir. So I would like to thank again Deshmukh sir for joining the session, and I would like to request Vaibhav sir to proceed for the remaining part.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Here we have end with our first session, and the next sections will start at 2 p.m. Okay. Thank you all of you. Thank you, Dr. Ajay Deshmukh, for sharing your knowledge in this FDP. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir.
I request background team to please stop the broadcast.